Can't get the
born in India.
OCI, but I can get
Yeah.
the little bit downgraded one. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think they're phasing something out with that. I don't know.
Hmm.
When's coming due? I think I actually had it like here the other day because it's coming due. All right, it's 11 o'clock. So since I don't typically do this, we want to just get started and presenters, do a welcome, and then I'm just going to hand it over to you really quick because it is a lunch and learn. And with that, I haven't been switching people. Are you switching people?
I am. Yeah, I'm helping keep an eye on that.
Perfect.
It's a 60-minute session, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Just wanted to confirm lunch and learn is more like 30 minutes or so. So I was like, did I get it wrong?
Oh, no. We usually do them 60 minutes. So sorry for the confusion.
Okay. No, that's fine.
Hi, so welcome everybody to our October data platform Women in Technology. Today we're going to have Pragati, am I pronouncing that correctly? Pragati Jain present to us the Whirlwind tour to Microsoft Fabric platform, which is one of my favorite things right now. So thank you for presenting. With our lunch and learns, we just tend to jump right in so we can use the time wisely. And with that, I'm going to hand that over to you.
Thanks. Thank you, Christina. So as we are already on time, so let's directly dive into the topic today. So I'll just quickly share my screen. If Christina or Deborah can just confirm that they can see my screen, then that would be great.
Yeah.
Yep.
And 1 second, let me just set up. Yeah, that's okay. And let me just go to presentation mode. Okay. Okay, so first of all, welcome everyone to my session today on Whirlwind to Microsoft Fabric platform. And thank you for taking out time from your lunch if you're, joining from the US time zone. So before I start my session, I will just give my quick introduction. So those who don't know me, my name is Pragati Jain. I'm a mom to a little boy now. He's 1 year old. So very proud of what I've been doing for the last 1 year. Apart from that, I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. I am a super user at Microsoft Fabric community. I have been in industry for nearly 10 plus years, and I've been working into analytics, for all those years, basically. And currently, I am working as an analytics manager at Avanade in London, United Kingdom. Outside Avanade, I am organizer of Data Weekender Conference. So Data Weekender Conference is a 1 day fully virtual conference. It's a data platform conference where we get speakers from global level and they come and share their knowledge in a day around data platform technologies. So keep an eye on our LinkedIn because we are going to announce our next data weekender soon because it's virtual, so you can join from anywhere. Apart from that, I also manage and host Microsoft Fabric UK user group. Again, it's a virtual user group where we get speakers talking about data platform and recently now Fabric from around the world. So if in case you want to learn something in your own spare time, then yeah, definitely go and check out our user group page where we, just go and host amazing speakers who bring great content. One fun fact about me, I'm a painter and I just proudly call myself a techie artist. Okay, so that was a quick introduction around myself, and then let's directly go into the topic today. Now, today's agenda is going to be very simple. I will try not to be more on the slides, but showing you more on the fabric side of things. So today's agenda, again, very simple. We'll quickly look at the Microsoft Fabric architecture. I'm sure many of you who have already started working with Fabric or, have been working with Fabric, they are very, familiar from this Fabric architecture diagram, but we'll still go through it and set the foundations and for today's session. Then we will also talk about different personas that Microsoft Fabric covers. So basically, if you're coming from different backgrounds and skill sets, then we are going to talk about what Microsoft Fabric has got for you. And the last one was keeping in mind different personas. I will also take you through the Fabric platform and show you some of the demos that I have created. And while showing those demos, I'll definitely talk about like what skill set you really need to do those demos. So today, in the end of the session, I'll be really happy if everyone can take away just one thing, that Microsoft Fabric is for everyone. Irrespective of any skill set or background you come from, Microsoft Fabric has got something for you. So let's see if I can change mind of few people who haven't started using Fabric, or have already started using Fabric. So we'll see. But yeah, before I start, I think I would like to ask one question in the chat. I don't know how many people have joined already, but have you been using Fabric already? So basically, if you have started using Fabric, then please write +1 in the chat. And you have been already using Fabric for your client solutions, just put +2 in the chat. So it will just give me an understanding what's the level of audiences today we have in the group today. So just be a little interactive. Somehow I can't see the chat, so maybe Christina or Deborah can tell me if there are any responses from the audiences. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, so let's start with what Microsoft Fabric is. Now, Fabric has been there for some time now. I mean, people are really working with, creating amazing client solutions. I myself have been involved with some of the customers here in UK who are actually adopting Microsoft Fabric as a solution, their go-to solution. So let's start with what Microsoft Fabric is. Now, when people talk about Microsoft Fabric, then in simple terms, Microsoft Fabric is basically a unified analytic solution which gives an end-to-end analytical platform, which also brings together different analytical capabilities. Now, when we say analytical capabilities, it's basically we are talking about data factory capabilities or data engineering capabilities, or say database developer capabilities, or data scientist capabilities, or report developers capability. Now, this is a very simple architecture diagram of Microsoft Fabric. You must have seen it multiple times in many presentations that you might have attended. And I'm going to show you the same thing again. So when we talk about Microsoft Fabric, we say it as a unified analytics platform or a solution. The reason why we call it as a unified solution is because it is backed up by a unified data foundation, which is called OneLake. And when I say OneLake, consider OneLake as just like your OneDrive, where everything just gets stored, and then people from your team members, or outside your team, if they have given right access, can access the same data from the same location. So basically, you are not duplicating data to give access to multiple people coming from different backgrounds, but you keep that data in a single storage area from where either your data scientists or your data engineers or your report developers, they can access the same data. And when we talk about Fabric again, on top of this OneLake, we have got different analytical capabilities. Now, data factory capabilities, which is more around data ingestion and transformation, data engineering capabilities, where you can bring your big data, transform it, and then convert it, or transform it to a meaningful data source. Then data warehousing capabilities. So who are coming from SQL background or database backgrounds, they have got data warehouse there, which they can use to learn and explore Microsoft Fabric. Then we have got a data science capability, which is around data scientists who can actually write their clever LLMs or any predictive models to understand or forecasting more around the data. Then we have got real-time intelligence for real-time streaming data. If you want to bring in real-time streaming data to Microsoft Fabric, then you've got real-time intelligence, where you can bring your live streaming data and then work with it to generate different insights. Then there is another analytical capability, which is Power BI. Now, earlier, Power BI was just one, but after Microsoft Fabric came into picture, Power BI became part of it, because Microsoft Fabric, again, it gives a single analytical solution where we have got different ways of analyzing the data. So Power BI is one of the way where you can actually ingest your data and then take it to the next level to generate insights and reports for your end users. Then we have got databases and industry solutions. And also this Microsoft Fabric on top of everything is powered by AI, which is the co-pilot in Microsoft Fabric. So you can use AI to generate your queries. You can ask AI about your data. You can ask AI to generate reports. And there are so many different things you can use this AI enabled co-pilot in Microsoft Fabric for. But obviously we are not going to talk about co-pilot today, but we are going to talk about at a high level what Fabric is about and what we can do. Now I'll go to next slide. If there are any questions, Christina or Deborah, then you can just interrupt me. Unfortunately, I'm not able to see the chat, but
We'll let you know.
just let me know. Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
So let's go to the next slide. Now in Microsoft Fabric, I'll be showing you a few things live. So when you log into Microsoft Fabric and when you've got everything enabled, like Fabric is enabled, you have got the proper licensing, then you have done certain settings in your admin portal to enable those Fabric items, then you can see these different workloads in Fabric environment here. So these are the same workloads that we saw on this architecture diagram. So these are the different analytical capabilities or analytical areas. These are called workloads in Fabric. Then today we are going to mostly talk about the data factory workload, which is basically around data ingestion and data transformation. And within the data factory workload, I'm going to show you some of the demos where I used, say, Dataflow Gen 2, data pipelines, and notebooks to ingest data into Microsoft Fabric and also transform it. Now, when today I'll be showing you demos, I'll be literally talking from the point of view of a person who's really not an expert in coding or who is, say, not a data engineer, but someone like me who's not a data engineer can still go and work with Fabric. So that's what I really want to show today, that how easy it is to get started with Fabric and get started with creating your solutions. And then we will also look into Power BI workload. Not sure if we'll get time to look at it in detail, but still I will go and check around, show you around Power BI workload, where we can see how we can quickly generate a report, we can explore the data, we can create apps using this workload. Now, getting started with Microsoft Fabric. Now, when it comes to Fabric, you really need to first, sign up for a 60-day trial license. Now, currently, Microsoft is giving a free 60-day trial license. So you can just go and sign up for it. And once you have got your license in place and have got all the settings enabled properly, which I'll show you in a minute, then you can start with some Microsoft Learn parts around Microsoft Fabric. And also there's Fabric documentation, which kind of gets updated very regularly. So you can refer that documentation to read and learn more around Fabric. Now, Microsoft Fabric trial enablement. Now, as I said, I'll be now running the slides quickly because this is not something I really need to spend time on, but just quickly to show you how you can get started. Now, Microsoft Fabric trial enablement, once you have signed up for free trial, you can see whether your Fabric trial has, started or not. So once you sign up for Fabric trial, you see your trial status here, because if you don't start your Microsoft Fabric trial, you'll see a green button here to start Microsoft Fabric trial. But once you start it, you'll see that the trial is there and you'll see that it's a 60-day trial, and then you can see your trial status, like how many days are remaining. And once you do that, just getting a Fabric license is not enough to start getting to work with Microsoft Fabric. Under the admin portal, you really need to first, enable few settings. Now, I'll show you these settings where you can enable the creation of Fabric items and so many different things around Microsoft Fabric. But the main thing that you need to enable is that you can create Fabric item, because not just getting license will give you access to create Fabric items. And then one catch here is, if you are in your own personal tenant, then you are your own Fabric administrator. So you will get these admin portal and then you can enable these settings. But suppose if you are not the administrator of your tenant, then you might have to go and ask your Fabric administrator to enable these settings for you, so that you can, start using the Fabric item creations within the environment. We'll quickly see these, so don't worry about it. And then when it comes to Microsoft Fabric, I mean, obviously, once you have enabled your licensing, you have set up all your settings. Now, the things, some thoughts that come to your mind is like, has Microsoft Fabric got anything for me? Because these were the questions I used to get asked like 2 years back when Fabric was just starting, and especially within my team. Now, I come from a Power BI background, and I've been working with Power BI for last few years. And then all of my team, they suddenly asked me a question like, is Microsoft Fabric going to change anything for us? Will we be still doing the same kind of Power BI development like we are doing now? Or do we have to learn something new to start using Fabric? Does it basically, the main question was, does it change anything for them? And what Microsoft Fabric has got from there for them if they just know Power BI, or say if they just know data engineering, or if they just know data science. So when we talk about what Microsoft Fabric has got, then Microsoft Fabric has got something for everyone. That's what I keep on telling people since day one I got introduced to Microsoft Fabric. And when I talk about Microsoft Fabric has got something from everyone, I talk about all the various, areas within the analytics industry I can think of, like data engineers, data scientists, data modelers, report designers, or data analysts. I mean, all of these can actually come and start using Fabric now itself, because Fabric is just not something for data engineers or data scientists. It has got everything for us. I mean, if you are a data modeler, you can still go and ingest your data, get the data, and start building your semantic models. If you're report designers, you can consume the semantic models and create reports out of it. If you're a data scientist, you can access data from your One Lake and create LLMs or your predictive machine learning models to generate forecasting. If you're data engineers, you can get the raw data into Microsoft Fabric and transform it into the more meaningful data for other team members to take it further to the next level. So Microsoft Fabric has got something for everyone. It's not just for a single skill set, it's for a variety of skill sets. Now we are going to do a quick tour to Microsoft Fabric. Now, these were the only slides I had. So let's quickly go to Microsoft Fabric and just try to familiarize ourselves with Microsoft Fabric portal. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring my another screen. Yep. And I hope everyone can see the Fabric environment that I have opened here. And let me also see if I can get my other, I don't know why I don't see chat here, which is a little weird. Okay, I'll consider there's no commenting or anything going on in the chat, but yeah, let's try to keep the chat little active. I mean, it's just good to, just share our thought processes while we are going through Microsoft Fabric. Okay, so once you sign up for Microsoft Fabric, as I said, you'll start seeing your licensing here. You can see your trial. Now you can see my trial is only remaining for 13 days. So you'll see the status of your trial. And then I talked about admin portal. So once you get your Microsoft Fabric trial license, the next thing you need to go is go to admin portal. And then you need to just enable few Fabric settings here. The main thing that you need to enable is users can create Fabric items. If you don't enable this and you have your Fabric license enabled, it won't allow you to create any Fabric items. So that's the main setting that you need to enable. And rest are the default settings which Microsoft takes care of. And I never go and change them until and unless there's something like really I need to change, but the main setting that you need to enable is create Fabric items. Now, once you have that enabled, and if you go to home, and the other thing is make sure this Fabric is, selected on the bottom left, because there are two things you can select. One is Power BI area, which kind of shows you everything from Power BI workload perspective. And then the other thing is the Fabric area. So if you are working with Fabric, make sure you select one of these, the Fabric, so you can see all the workloads or items related to Fabric here. So once you toggle to Fabric, you can see a few tutorials here going on, which you can start with, like what is Fabric, if you want to start with ingesting data into Fabric, or building a lake house or warehouse or your machine learning models. Then there are a few articles that you can get started with. Otherwise, you can always go to Microsoft, learn parts or, documentation around Microsoft Fabric to get started. Now, the first thing what you have to do is, whenever you work in the Fabric environment, I'm not sure how many of you come from Power BI background in the audience, but in the earlier days when we used to have Power BI service, we used to create a workspace, and within that workspace, we had to create everything. The same concept goes in the Fabric as well. So when you have to create anything within Fabric, the first thing you need to start with is create a new workspace. Now, I have already created different few workspaces for you to showcase some of the demos I've already created. So I'm going to start with one workspace that I created and got some data into it. So this is the Fabric Yellow Taxi workspace. And with the name of it, you can, identify what data I am working with here. So I got the New York Yellow Taxi data in, and it is somewhere around 1.7 billion worth rows of data. So it's like a good data size as well, which I wanted to work with. So I got that data into Microsoft Fabric. And what I did was, the first thing I did was I ingested the data. Now, as I said initially, I come from Power BI background. So obviously, no data engineering skills, no skills around writing Python code or notebooks or anything like that. I'm basically more a low code, no code person who is used to using Power Query Editor a lot. Now, when it comes to Microsoft Fabric, as I said, it has got something for everyone. Now, I don't know how to write notebooks or code, but still I was able to ingest data, transform data, and write it to a lakehouse in the Microsoft Fabric environment. Now, how I did that? I just did that using data flows. Now, within Microsoft Fabric environment, once you create a workspace, there's something called new item. And when you click on it, it gives you view around what all different items you can create. Like you can, if you want to say get or ingest data, then you can use data flows. Or say you can use a copy job activity. If you are working with streaming data, you can use event stream. And then so many other different, things you can use to get your data into Microsoft Fabric. Now, as I said, I'm a low code, no code person. I went with Dataflow Gen 2 because I already know how Dataflow Gen 1 works. And Dataflow Gen 2 is basically the next version of Dataflows within Microsoft Fabric environment. You won't get this option if you don't have Microsoft Fabric enabled in your tenant. You'll only see Dataflow Gen 1. So I started with Dataflow Gen 2, because I wanted to see what Dataflow Gen 2 is about and how it is different. So what I did was I actually created a Dataflow Gen 2, and where I just got my data into Microsoft Fabric environment. Let it load. Sometimes data flows might take time to load as well, but it's fine. It's already there. So what I'll do is I'll go to home. What I'll do, I'll show you different data flow. It might just take less time. Oh, let it load. Okay, it loaded. So what I did in this data flow was okay, let's do one thing. We'll come to this in the next step. I think I should show you the another one first. So I'll go to my Fabric workspace, and then here I've got a New York taxi data flow. So what this data flow is doing, it's getting some data around New York Yellow Taxi from simple files. Okay. Now, as I said, a simple person without any coding skills, I just wanted to get somehow data using my Power Query skills. So in Fabric, I can use data flows, which give me an online Power Query environment. And what I just started with was connecting with the simplest data source, which is like an Excel file. And in that Excel file, I had few data around New York Yellow Taxi, and then I just got that into here. Now, one thing that we need to just understand around Dataflow Gen 2 is like earlier when we used to create Dataflow Gen 1, we didn't know where the data got stored in the environment. But when we create Dataflow Gen 2, it actually gives us a capability to select the destination where we want to write out our data as tables. Now, within Microsoft Fabric, you have lakehouses, warehouses, or you can create a KQL database, and then you can write your data to different various sources. Now, if you haven't heard these names before, like Lakehouse or Warehouse, then as I took it 2 years back, was they are just a storage area for my data to land in as tables from where I can access that data. That's it. So I just choose Lakehouse to write my tables in. And once I got all my data in, did few transformations, not very major transformations. They are very basic transformations like changing column types or renaming columns. And I just ended them writing up to my Lakehouse. And once I ran this data flow, it actually ended up writing these 4 tables to my lakehouse. I'm not going to go into that detail, but I'm going to close the data flow now. And I'm going to show you what it wrote in the lakehouse. So just going back, letting the data flows close. I came back to my workspace. And here is the lakehouse I created. Now, when I open the lakehouse, I can see a few things in there. Let it load. Now you can see there are a few more tables in my lakehouse, but it's fine. But the tables that I showed you in the data flow, these are the 4 tables that got written down as simple tables in the lakehouse. And what I can do is I can simply take this further down to create, say, semantic model, or say, take them down into notebooks to do additional transformations, or I can use it down the line to, say, write SQL queries to understand more around the data. Now, this is what I got as a data flow Gen 2. Now, okay, then I understood, okay, there is already a capability which I'm aware of. I've been working with it for years. That's data flow Gen 2, and I can get the data and transform them and get it into Microsoft Fabric in a lakehouse. But then the next thing what I really wanted to do is, what if, now, as I said earlier, now this data is somewhere around 1.7 billion rows. Now, data flows can be slow, but obviously data flow Gen 2 is backed up by a fast copy capability. If you enable that within data flow Gen 2, it can actually load billions worth of data. But when I was trying this scenario, that time fast copy feature was not there. So what I ended up doing was, should I get this data through a notebook and upskill myself and just see if it is faster than my data flow Gen 2? So what I did was I actually ended up writing a notebook. Now, as I said, I don't have any background in coding, but I still wanted to try that. Like, will it make a difference? Will it load my data faster? Will it do anything good? So what I did was I ended up writing a notebook. Now, this is something I did for the very first time. I just created a new notebook in the workspace. I tried to load the data, and then I was able to work around my way. Let the notebook load. Now, few things in this notebook. Let it load. I'm just going to minimize this Explorer for now. Now, this is the notebook. You can see some coding going on there. I'm sure some of you are experts in PySpark coding, Python coding. You'll understand what this code is doing by just looking at it. But someone like me won't understand it like 2 years back, what's really happening. So few things around notebook. Good thing around notebook is it actually supports multi-coding language. So if you have got background coming from data engineering side, so I'm sure you know Python or Scala or R, you can write that code in notebook. If you don't come from these backgrounds, say you come from a database background or warehousing background, you can write your code in SQL language. So you can actually write a SQL query to do things within the notebook. If you're a data scientist, you can use R language to write your code in this notebook, which is Spark R within notebooks. And again, you can use T-SQL, again, data warehousing expertise. So irrespective of what background you come from, and I'm assuming within analytics world, most of us are, skilled with at least SQL, because that's the basic SQL, right? That's the basic we all as analysts are, required to know. And that's what we do day to day. So if you don't know PySpark or Scala or Python, you can write your code in SQL and get started with the notebook. Now, why I started with PySpark? Long time back, I had a little bit of experience of writing PySpark when one of my data engineers suddenly left the organization and everything came on me, though I was just a Power BI developer. So I actually wrote notebooks to using PySpark language to create some, transformations and get the data loaded for further analysis. So I have a little bit of background around PySpark, but that was just for like 3-4 months or so. Now, I ended up writing this code on my own, but I won't take credit for the first two cells. Now, when you want to load the New York Yellow Taxi data, now there is a ready to consume code given by Microsoft, which you can directly get into your notebook and get it running. Because this data is available openly, but it comes from a open data storage blob account, which is, maintained by Microsoft. So you have to connect to it and then get the data in. So this one and this cell is something I just copied it from Microsoft's website where they have given how to load this data. And once this data was loaded, I started to explore the data. Like, for example, I started checking the data, like what all columns it has. Now, it kind of loaded your data in a good tabular form. And these are called data frames when you work with Python or PySpark. So that's why you see it like in our tabular structure. You can see like, okay, what's really happening. You can create charts if you want. You can create a new chart on the data that you want to see in. So there are a few things you can do. But I started just exploring the data. Okay, what all columns it has got. Then the next thing what I wanted to check was how many rows this data has got. So I just counted the number of rows, and you can see it has got somewhere around 1.6, 1.7 billion rows of data here. Then what I did was I actually played around with some SQL side of things as well. So one thing that I wanted to, I think I've missed showing you. Whenever you create a lake house in a Fabric workspace, it actually creates an additional workload for you, which I would not say workload, but an additional item for you, which is the SQL Analytics endpoint. Now you can see a semantic model default thing as well. Now this thing doesn't get created now. This was done long time back. I mean, I just updated it now, but this thing was created long time back when we had something like a default semantic model attached to your lakehouse. But now Microsoft has changed this. Now, if you create a new lakehouse, you will never get a semantic model default item created here. You will only get a SQL Analytics endpoint. This SQL Analytics endpoint allows you to explore your data by writing different SQL queries. So once your data is loaded, what you can do is you can actually start writing some queries. Like you can just explore the stuff. Okay, what's there? What kind of different, rows are there? What columns are there? You can try to write some groupings and understand, okay, what's really happening in your data. So you can try to do all those kind of analysis using the SQL queries. So I did few bit of analysis in this environment using SQL query and understood that there was some kind of data discrepancy within the data, within the New York Yellow Taxi data. So what I did was I did some kind of data cleaning. So I started writing code like how I want to replace the wrong values in the data with the right values. So did some kind of things and then wrote it back to my data frame. And once I was happy with the data, I wrote it back to my lake house as a New York Taxi data yellow. Now, obviously, writing this code was something I had to figure it out, or I have to search online. I used AI to give me some kind of code, examples as well, and then try to fit it in my scenario and got it working. So again, this helped me a little bit to upskill myself with new technology. And then I just saw that the notebooks work pretty fast. It kind of wrote everything pretty quickly. And also it was a benefit around learning something new, gaining some new skills. So that's why I tried notebooks as well. So this was another way I tried to load the data and transform the data and write it to my lakehouse. Another thing, whatever things you open in Microsoft Fabric, they're added as a tab at the top, so you can clearly see. Now, if I go back to my lakehouse, I wrote this table, New York Taxi data yellow. And here I can have a good preview of the data. That's what here is. Now, the next thing what I wanted to try is, okay, now I'm again saying the same thing. I'm a Power BI developer. I'm used to basically creating semantic models and reports on top of it. Now, within Microsoft Fabric environment, once I got the data, my next thing was, okay, how do I create a semantic model using the data that I landed in my lake house here? So once you get your data in the lake house, there is an option to create new semantic model. I took that option. I selected that option because if I don't have a good semantic model, then I won't be able to analyze the data in the right way. So and my data was clean enough at certain stage that I can create a semantic model. So what you have to do is, I mean, once you want to create a new semantic model using the tables that you landed in Lakehouse, you can just create a new one here. You can give it, I'm not going to create it, but I'm just giving a name here just to show you how it works. So like, for example, here I've given a new semantic model name. And what I can do is I can select all the tables that I want to include in my, say, in my semantic model. And once I do that and confirm that, it creates a semantic model for me. It opens a new window. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do this. I'm going to show you a model that I've already created. So I'm going back to my workspace here. And here I ended up creating this semantic model. It is my model. This is the semantic model. And I'm going to open this model, New York taxi semantic model. And it's a very simple semantic model, not very tricky things going on here. Yeah. Now, when I open a model, the one thing good about Microsoft Fabric now is it opens everything in a viewing mode. So if someone else is opening it, they just don't mess around with anything until and unless you get it into editing mode. So once I open the model, now if I want to say edit it, I go to editing mode. Okay. And then I can start editing my semantic model. Now, this is the model which is very simple. So I had this fact table, which is my New York taxi yellow data. And then I've got 4 dimension tables in there. One is payment type, one is rate code, one is vendor, and I also have a calendar table. Now, again, if you have worked with modeling before, you know what is the importance of a calendar table there. That's why I got it there. And then I created all the relationships, and it was very easy to create these relationships. It was just drag and drop. Like, for example, I'll just delete this relationship and show it to you. So what I did was let me make this a little bigger. So I had this payment type here, and this is my payment type here. So I'm just going to get my, oh, 1 second. Yeah. So I'm just going to, I'm just going to drag my ID. This is my key column to payment type in my fact table. So I just dragged it that way, and then the window opens, and then, it kind of shows me everything like one-to-many, clause filter direction. I really don't have to worry about everything. I check everything, it looks fine, I save it, and then the relation is created. So that's how I just, dragged and dropped the relationships and then created it. Okay, so that's how my semantic model was created at a basic level. But obviously, I wanted more on it. So I ended up creating some calculations on top of my semantic model. So it's very easy to do that as well. If you want to create calculations, you can create just new measure here. If you want to create a new table, you can create a new table as well, or calculation groups or parameters. And also, if you want to create row level security driven managed roles here, you can create that as well now. So everything basically under the same hood you are doing. Now, I haven't switched to Power BI Desktop yet. I have done everything in the same environment, from data ingestion to data transformation to writing the data to Lakehouse and then creating a semantic model. On top of that, on top of this semantic model, I created some calculations, which you can see here. I ended up creating them in my fact table. So these are the different measures I created. So like, for example, just taking total passenger count, or say total trip distance. Then I've got a few more metrics in there, like for example, average trip distance, that I can see the data, or average tip per passenger that has been given to the taxi driver. So I ended up creating few measures, and within the same environment, you can actually do a lot of things. Like for the measures, you can give the proper formatting and everything here. So everything works within the environment. You really don't have to go outside to do anything. So that's why I've started liking Fabric because I can do everything in a single place. I really don't have to use third-party tools, because sometimes I work with customers or clients, they have constraint or restriction around download of third-party tools. So Fabric actually solves that challenge or issue. We can do everything in here. Even, model optimization or model understanding, analysis, you can do within the same environment. So this is how I created the simple semantic model in the environment. And once that was ready, what I did was I created a report on top of it. Now, when your model is ready, now there are a few things you can do with it. Once you have got the model in, now this is my model. Let me actually filter it as well. So this is another thing in here. You can filter the, things within your environment as well. So this is my semantic model that I've got. Now, when I have sign is coming wrong. Oh, something not working right, but that's fine. Maybe something to report to Microsoft why this happened. It's okay. But when you have a semantic model in place, and if you click on those three dots, you can do a few things. You can create your report from scratch. You can auto create a report. Basically, once you hit this button, in the background, AI tries to read your semantic model, the data information in there, and tries to create a report for you. Or you can create a paginated report as well. Also, you can explore this data if you want to explore. But what I ended up doing, I created a report from scratch. So I'm going to remove the filter. And this is the report I ended up creating. It's a very simple report, nothing major in that. And you must be wondering why all my tabs are hidden in the browser. This is like a known issue to Microsoft. They're still working on it. Not sure when this will get sorted, but yeah, this is a known issue. So you might end up seeing this in Fabric. So I just ended up creating a simple report where I'm just trying to check my reports by different payment type, or, trips by different rate type, or, some summary information coming out of data, which doesn't make much sense to me. And then I've got some KPIs at the top. So very simple report just to understand, okay, I can do this. And this is a very simple, formatted report. I mean, I haven't done much wow in there, because obviously when compared to Power BI Desktop, this Fabric environment has got a little bit less capabilities when it comes to create report, but it does a basic job. If you really want to create a basic report with very simple outlet, then you can just create that report. And it was very easy to do. So that's how you can do actually end-to-end processes in Microsoft Fabric, like getting your data from different ways, like through notebooks or through data flows, and then transform them, write them as tables, create semantic model, and on top of that, you can create reports. Now, this was the one flow that I wanted to show you, like, okay, within this workspace, I tried getting these things, and this is how I got the data in. But let me show you a few more ways of doing it. Like, this was a simple example where I got the data via notebook and also through data flows. But then there was another way where I wanted to get the data from our on-premises SQL server. So I have, now if you must be aware about the Contoso data that's been freely available and, free for all of us to use. So I have got this Contoso data in my on-premises SQL server. And obviously I have a gateway running, because if I want to get my on-premises data to a cloud environment, I need a gateway in between. So my gateway is running as well, which kind of allows me to get that data within the environment. So that's the gateway. And how I did was, again, I used the data flow as a starting point. I just created a data flow. And using that data flow, I created a connection to a SQL server and bought all the tables that I wanted to, use for certain analysis. So this is a very simple data flow, which is kind of creating a connection to my on-premises SQL server database. So this is a connection query I created in the data flow. Let it load. Yeah, whenever I'm presenting, my demos suddenly become slow. Not sure why, but every time they're slow. Oh, page unresponsive. Not sure why, but yeah, we'll wait.
Cursor presenting.
Yeah, but hopefully demo gods are with us so far, so it should be fine. Because anyways, I'm I decided to just showcase the ready demos rather than creating because it takes sometimes time within Fabric. So what I did was I just connected. I'll just show you my connection. So what I'm doing here is I'm connecting to my SQL Server database. And it's on my on-premises machine. So I'm connecting to it and I'm just navigating to like, say, a particular database area that I wanted to access data from. And if I show you the advanced editor query for it, it kind of shows you, okay, this is my SQL Server database connecting to this particular database. And once I set up that connection, I'm using that connection to get certain data in, like I've got few tables in there. Which I tried to get in, and then obviously I created those subfolders. It just makes the data queries look little cleaned up. So I've got few queries in there happening. I've got the fact table in there. And then I ended up again writing them to a lakehouse. Now, the only reason why I chose lakehouse is because now there are certain comparisons when to choose lakehouse, when to choose warehouse. But I went ahead and chose lakehouse because lakehouse is basically capable of handling both the structured and unstructured data. Now, obviously, I'm not getting any unstructured data, but that's the benefit of using lakehouse. If in future you get some unstructured data, you can still analyze it with um, uh, analyze within lakehouse, basically write that data to lakehouse and use it for further processing. And data warehousing, you can definitely put this data in data warehousing because I don't have any unstructured data, but the only benefit what I see between lakehouse and warehouse is a difference on unstructured data. So this is how I got the data using I'm not going to wait for it because it might be just slow. But that's the other thing I did was getting my on-premises SQL Server data into Fabric. And this was done long time back. I think one of the very first use case I created within Fabric for one of the customers asked me if you can, get your on-premises SQL Server data to Fabric. So I showed them this demo thing and it works. So this was another thing, another way I did that, another way of getting data from a different kind of source. And then the other thing, another thing what I wanted to show was one more workspace where I actually got data through shortcuts. Now, shortcuts are basically, you can just think of shortcuts as a reference point. So like, for example, say I've got my data, say I've got few tables in a lake house, okay? Now I want to just reference those tables and get into a different workspace. So what shortcuts do is they don't duplicate the data. They just reference the data. So you are basically avoiding the duplication of data. So what I did in this shortcuts was I created a lake house in this workspace and I wanted to get my, say, I wanted to get my Contour data, which was in my other workspace, the Contour workspace. So what I did, I just created a shortcut to reference that data and got it into my another workspace. Now, there could be scenarios where you really need the same data in different workspaces for working. There could be different kind of permission models that you're creating within Fabric. So I wanted to try shortcuts. So it was very simple. I just created a lake house and using the shortcuts, I got the same data which I've got in my other workspace. Now, the only thing is this is the icon of a shortcut, this link icon, because it is not creating a copy of data. It's just referencing the data on the other workspace. So this is another way you can get the data into Microsoft Fabric quite quickly. And then obviously there are different ways, like you can use mirroring, which kind of actually creates a copy of data into Fabric from like a third-party source, like somewhere else. Then there are other resources or sources, data sources also you can connect to. So these were the three different scenarios. I just wanted to show you how I got them into Microsoft Fabric. And obviously you can do many things in Fabric when it comes to creating solutions. It's not just about ingesting data and creating reports out of it. You can actually give permissions at different levels. You can create a different permission model at workspace level. You can create deployment pipelines. You can create apps. Then you can also do monitoring within the Microsoft Fabric environment. Like, for example, if you click on this monitor button on the left, it kind of helps you monitor what's really happening. So like you can see one of my data flow actually failed within this workspace. So I can see, okay, it failed. What all processes succeeded in what all, environment. So I can clearly see what's really happening in the environment. Then other way of monitoring thing is like there is one lake catalog in Microsoft Fabric, because the reason I'm showing you this is it's not just about creating solutions. It's also very important to monitor what's happening in your environment. Maybe not you as a developer, but your admin might need something to monitor what's happening in the environment. So again, within the One Lake catalog, I can see what all things are created, who has created, who's owning it, and who's doing it. So you can see all those processes being created in different workspaces. Then there is a governance area which kind of allows you to shows you key insights around key insights around the content in your Fabric environment. So as an administrator, you'll have this governance side of monitoring enabled under One Lake catalog. And once you open it, then you can see, okay, what all items are created, how many items are created within your capacity, within your tenant, who's owning what, who is creating what processes have succeeded, what processes have failed. So this is kind of, really something already inbuilt in the product for you. So the beauty of Fabric, again, I mean, you are not creating these things. These things are already inbuilt for you. You just go and click and then see what's really happening. So like I haven't created any domains or subdomains, but I have created different workspaces. So I can see all the workspaces. Like I've got 15 workspaces in this particular capacity, and I can like see within every workspace what all items I've created by item names and everything. I can say, suppose if I just want to see a single workspace, I can go and see what's really happening in that workspace. I can select Fabric Yellow Taxi. Then I get all the information around that workspace, what items are created, which item is created the most. Like, for example, I've created the notebooks the most in this environment, refresh rates, sensitivity label, and other things. So there are so many different things you can see in Fabric. Like one of my semantic model is certified, so I can see that within this workspace. So I can see all the information around that workspace with all the items. And there are so many different other things. I mean, it's not just about this report, but you can do so many other things. Like, for example, there is Fabric capacity metrics, which kind of gives you insight around the capacity that you have been working with and what's all is happening within the capacity. So you can enable this app in Fabric environment if you're an admin to your capacity. So you need to be a capacity admin to enable this. And once that is enabled, again, you can see at a high level what's really happening within your capacity. You can select the capacity here, and then it gives you all the things like, okay, what's really happening, what process is taking a lot of time, what is taking most of the compute within your environment, what's taking a lot of storage. So you can see all that level kind of details, which can be really important sometimes from administrator point of view. Because say, for example, one of my developer is like, say, running a notebook like 15 times. Okay, then I really need to understand if it is taking a lot of storage or compute within the capacity. So those kind of things can be really, helpful to understand at a capacity level. So yeah, I mean, if you're a capacity admin, you can go and explore these things. And there are a few articles you can find around Fabric capacity metrics as well online, which can help you to understand what's really happening. Like, see, something is really going with one of the processes. So I can see what's really happening. So yeah, I think this is what I really wanted to show in today's demo. I mean, we just went through and saw how we can see some no-code solution to ingest and transform data, and also some coded solution to ingest and transform data in Fabric, and how easily we can do that irrespective of, the skill set or background that we have. But we can still use Fabric, I mean, whatever background we come from. And then we also ended up seeing some of the monitoring things, what we can do in Fabric to understand our capacity, what's really taking time, who is creating what, who is owning what in the workspaces, what workspaces are created. So it's kind of really, good way of monitoring things. And then the main thing what I really wanted to say is like Fabric is actually that unified solution that I think everyone was looking for in last few years, because I can do everything in a single hood. I really didn't have to go outside this environment to do any part of my data process cycle. I did from ingestion to report creation in single environment without going anywhere. So this is really like a game changer if you really want to do things in a single environment. So I'll just quickly go back to my slides. I don't think I've got much slides, just a resource slide in the end. Like if you want to go and check out some documentation, learn parts, blogs by MVPs that they do every month. And then there are 2 certifications in Microsoft Fabric so far. One is DP600, which is Analytics Engineer, and DP700, which is Data Engineering certification. So in case you're interested in getting certified, you can go and check out these certifications. And yeah, thank you everyone for attending the session today, which is a lunch and learn. So thank you so much for coming in your lunchtime. And yeah, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer the questions. And if any of you guys also want to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn, X. Then I've got my own blog. I'm on Fabric Community, and I've got my own YouTube channel as well. So yeah, that's it for today, everyone. And hope you learned something. If you learned one thing from today's session, then my job is done. So hopefully that session was helpful.
You did a great job. Thank you. Couple questions. What are kind of the main differences between those two certifications that you posted?
Yeah, so DP 600, I would say a person like me who's coming from analytics background but don't have like data engineering background. So like
Sure.
DP 600 is more focused on the semantic modeling side of things. So if you're expert into that area, or if you come from Power BI background, you can actually go for DP 600. But if you're more of a data engineer person working as a data engineer for last few years, then DP 700 is the certification you should be going for.
Fantastic, fantastic. And then at the beginning of the presentation, you showed like that enable fabric thing.
Yeah.
And so, and this is, I'm gonna be selfish here because we just ran into this and I haven't had time to look it up. There's also like an activator thing, and we
Yes.
realized like we had let we had let everybody have the activator, but we had really locked down the fabric thing, and so they
were not able to create the active. Exactly.
Yeah, so I guess that's my
first
question. Is
setting,
that kind of the
yeah.
overriding, even if you give it the minuscule little
The-
things, that
yeah,
overrides it all?
Exactly. So creation of fabric item setting needs to be enabled. If you don't enable that, no one will be able to create anything. It doesn't matter you give them activator creation rights or anything else going on in the environment. You need to enable that first setting at the top. If you don't do
Yeah.
that, you won't be able to do anything.
And I have to say that's not always intuitive because I use the search bar, so I'll like do activator.
Yeah,
and I'm like, yeah,
activator.
they got permissions because I'm not like I'm a
Yeah.
fabric administrator by accident. That's not
Yeah.
really my main job at all.
Yeah. No, I
So
think
it's
it's
like
fine
it's
because,
enabled.
but it's like, okay, I mean, once it happens, we have to do some jobs that we haven't done before.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's
Absolutely.
always good to do. It's good for learning. But yeah, you need to enable that main setting at the top, Christina. If we don't do that, we won't get access.
Takeaway there is not just use the little search bar for what you're looking for, but make sure that one is enabled. And it's at the top. So I told my boss, I was like, I'm pretty sure that this, so we want to be cautious about it. But
I mean, use the search bar once you have enabled the main setting, then use the search bar.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, that's all the questions that we have, but I did want to just, formally thank you for presenting for us. That was a really great, I mean, it's a lot of information to